because all the talk so far has been the pivotal role that the tanks are going to play in this war in terms of supporting Ukraine. I think it's the first time I've heard that there may be the possibility that the Russians themselves see that the tanks are actually valuable to them as hostages because of what they can learn from them in terms of their technical sophistication.
No, Ms. Rippon, for heaven's sakes, yes. I mean, there are many of us. This is no secret. I'm very happy to talk about it on your show. There are many of us in our community who are astonished to hear the suggestion that a small regiment of Challenger 2 was what we were going to provide. I do understand, and I support the reason for sending British tanks. I applaud it in the same way that I applauded the bravery of Ben Wallace and Boris Johnson in overriding the combined resistance of the civil service a year ago to get through those original anti-tank weapons, which I mentioned. But the Challenger 2 is an enormously advanced piece of equipment. It particularly has the most advanced level of protective armor. It's called Dorchester armor, and it has a fantastically accurate 120 millimeter tank gun, which of course depends upon the leveling and the sighting and all of the other technologies which make it such a deadly machine. And so if you send 14 of those and you actually put them on the battlefield, you don't have to be Albert Einstein to realize that that makes them the most desirable target for capture for the Russians of anything that's on the battlefield. And so I did notice in The Sun, I think it was yesterday, reports that people in the MOD, as I would expect my former colleagues to be doing, are now thinking very hard about how do you make sure that you've got battlefield recovery, that you've got protective infantry shielding these weapons, if they are actually going to be fielded in contexts where there's that risk. But I personally don't think that they will be fielded in a context where there's any risk of them being captured, because the point is this: if one of those, and it only takes one, were captured and the Russians got a chance to pull it apart and then to begin to retro-engineer and also to understand how it works, how our defense systems on those tanks work, that doesn't only compromise the Challenger 2, it also compromises the planned upgrade to Challenger 3 for the British Army.